Jetris Images, suppliers of high-end graphic systems, have profited from years of experience within the professional video domain, resulting in the installation of hundreds of systems in broadcast, post-production, corporate and cartoon environments. Specialised particularly in the high-end post-production field, Studio Venice is based on a specialised hardware architecture. Here we are operating with a base of 5 layers and the Venice Silicon Recorder Aramis 101, which offers a storage capacity of tens of seconds of live video. These operate in conjunction with a variety of software modules for dynamic paint, real-time animation, compositing and full VTR control, all of which are offered in the standard configuration. With the above configuration, Mr. Jean-Philippe Lamarche, our senior graphic design expert, has constructed the following demonstration, which has been recorded live.
Now temperatures your weatherman missed, brought to you by the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. In the Magic Kingdom, it was 77, slightly cooler on Splash Mountain, 75 at Epcot Center. The Disney MGM Studios theme park had 76, 74 at Disney's Contemporary Resort, and the Disney golf courses hit 77. If you're warming up to a Disney vacation, call 407-WDisney. Rooms start from just $89 a night.
The dynamic paint module is represented by a principal menu which can be positioned either to the left or to the right of the screen with a submenu along the bottom. These menus are divided up with a series of icons which are easy to use and understand. Venice operates under the ergonomic philosophy of multiple layers. For example, here we can move the hand behind the babies, or even take their pants off. We can modify the priority of the layers. The layer with the hand can be brought in front of the others. The degree of transparency can also be modified. And then, should we want to return the hand behind, then thanks to the multi-layer philosophy, we just change the layer priority once again. The layer is not limited to the size of the screen. In fact, it represents 3 times what you can see here. The tulips, for example, go further than the actual monitor screen in X and Y axes. Now let's go on to the functions themselves and we'll erase these layers. Let's start with the brush. As you can see on the left of the screen, you have the possibility to draw with 65 different sizes of brushes, and to change the size, one simply moves the lift on the left. Thanks to the sensitive stylus of the tablet, we can also play with the transparency within the image. You can also mix colours together in order to work with a brush comprising of 4 colours. Each function can be memorized, which means that any modifications can be made quickly without having to erase. You can also create and save your own customized brushes. In order to create a new brush, you just need to call up the editor menu, which will save the new pattern. In this way, you can create brushes similar to the effects of chalk, charcoal, or watercolour. As for the airbrush, the ergonomy remains the same with 65 sizes available and the possibility of playing with the transparency thanks to the sensitive tablet. Particular attention should be given to the surprising speed of this function. Even when drawing very quickly, the brush stroke follows the hand movement and is displayed instantly on the screen. Combined with the technique of multi-layering, the restore function of the airbrush enables you to touch up the image of the policeman without having to use a mask or stencil. Using your own imagination, you can alter the face. In fact, the monkey picture is lying on an independent layer, which means that the image of the policeman remains intact. Here we can see the different layers with all the independent elements. Studio Venice also possesses an application which operates like a character generator. A library of more than 1,000 vectorial fonts are available, such as Times, Futura, Helvetica, and even non-Latin ones, such as Arabic, Cyrillic, Greek, or Korean. You can also change the size of the text, the angle, the bold on the left, or the bold on the right, the italics, and the orientation of the letters themselves. Let's reposition the text, and we'll add some colours. We can then change the transparency and give it a shadow. As you can see here on the right of the screen, we can change the size and the orientation of the shadow, as well as its transparency and its colour. A texture can be applied to a logo, and here again without having to create a stencil, for example stone or live video. We can do some other particular effects on this logo, such as emboss, with the added possibility of changing the size and orientation of the shadow. And to finish the picture, we can give it a slab effect, which gives a 3D look to the logo. We can also create certain light effects. And then with the airbrush, we can reveal a new image through this one by uncovering one of the other layers. And if you're not satisfied with the result, you can just call up another image, yet again without the stencil. And thanks to multi-layering, we can bring back the Statue of Liberty. A given image can be modified thanks to several tools contained in the library of special effects. For example, we can change the colour of the image from blue to white, or even add some pink to the shading. The contrast allows one to strengthen or lighten the colours. And then the frosted effect gives a pastel look to the image. And of course, we can combine all of these effects to create astonishing results. To finish, let's have a look at the different elements. Layer 1, 2, 3, 4 and the background on 5. The chroma key enables you to extract a live image from a monochrome background, in this case green. The character used here was taken from the demo of Burger King, which you saw before. In fact, the great thing about the chroma key is not just to pick out one single colour, but a group of different colours together. The background has now been changed. As you can see here in the top column, with plus we can select the colour we want to disappear. The bottom column with minus enables us to protect certain colours or a group of colours. This manipulation finished, we can erase behind the character thanks to the background mask. The surround remains smooth and unchanged. With the function transfo, we can modify the size of the waitress, and we can adapt the form to the size of the television. However, should we wish to change the position of these elements, we just need to change the priorities and pass the real layer in front, always in real time. With the aerograph, we can erase the centre of the picture to uncover the character behind. A zoom allows you to work in more detail. Given that each element is completely independent, we can reposition the objects or change the background colour on another layer. Now we'll leave the Paint module and go on to animate these images. We shall have a look at the Composer module since it offers numerous animation effects either on still or live images. As you can see, the menu looks rather like the one in the Paint, using similar icons, but the big difference lies with the timeline, as you can see here at the bottom. With Studio Venice, you can create up to 5 minutes of real-time animation. The first step in an animation is to display the images you want to animate on the screen. The name of each image appears on the left-hand side of the menu. Example Bank 2 for the blue background. Let's start off with moving the background. Given that each image is 3 times the size of the monitor screen, we can move the image along the x-axis thanks to the scroll function. In order to be more precise, we can even control the movements with the keyboard. Now we will call up another still image to the screen, which we will then animate. First of all, a live image on one layer, which we have recovered from the Venice Silicon Recorder Aramis. Then the other graphic elements, which are also still for the moment. We will give them a position in the animation and a different rotation value to each one. The unique feature of this system is the fact that without re-editing, you can come back and completely modify the animation at any frame. If, for example, we give different positions to these objects, a brand new animation is generated. Let's add another graphic element to the storyboard, a logo Burger King. We can give it a movement speed again, and in real time it carries out the movement. As we can see, the logo is moving in front of the girl. But we can quickly change its priority so that it now goes behind the television. So number 3 becomes number 6. A zoom enables you to interactively change the size of the object simply by clicking on the screen. Just like any other graphic element, we can also make the live sequence move. I can position it at 0 on the timeline and then move along the timeline. Look, you can see the trajectory behind the object, which gives us an idea of the movement. So here we have a movement going from the left to the right of the screen. Here again, we can associate another position to the timeline and the movement is done automatically. The movement here is linear, but we can make it more flexible by playing with the acceleration and deceleration factors. Now we will leave this exercise because the animation functions of the Composer are not limited to simple movements. One of the major applications within the Composer is cartoon. Here we can animate cells very rapidly, just like we would in traditional cartoon making. The images you can see here were created by the Disney Studio in Florida and then animated within the system. Each element, whether it be Peter Pan, the logo, or Dumbo, lie on independent layers. Dumbo, for example, is actually a group of cells on one layer. The background, here the map, is lying on another layer. Here we can really see the size of the layer. In the same way, should you make a mistake in the storyboard, you can recover the objects and modify them. You can change the size, the speed, the movement, and the transparency, all in real time. You can interpolate forms and images between each other in a quick and ergonomic fashion. Here we can see how Hoops becomes a basketball logo. A submenu enables us to automate this interpolation. In the upper work window, we can display the logo and the starting form in the lower one. We can try a working colour on each graphic element. This is simply an indication which lets you see what becomes what. The H becomes a circle, and the letter O moves to the bottom, and so on. The menu on the left allows you to control what's happening very easily, using the system of colours. You can then see the result here on the Aramis. The geometric form gradually becomes the logo and ends up with the word hoop. The morphing feature is based on the same idea of interpolation, but works with either still or a sequence of live images. Here the car gradually turns into a black cat. Thanks to the dynamic macros with the dynamic paint, we can metamorphose these two elements. The macro is in fact a storyboard which allows you to decompose your actions. The morphing is controlled by a system of grids, a starting grid for the cat and a final grid for the Ferrari. In fact, you can see the image of the car on layer 1 and the cat on layer 2. The grid evolves in time and is transformed gradually at each field. Here, the result is calculated on the Aramis silicone recorder. Let's have another look. This demonstration offers a brief insight into the possibilities offered by the Venice line, our main objective being to demonstrate the incredible power held within the association of multilayering, real-time animation, and compositing. And of course, we should not forget that all of these possibilities are easy to employ and user-friendly. There only remains to add that the Venice line is modular and can be upgraded and hence rendered even more performant with the addition of a wide array of optional modules. For more information, please get in touch.